Okay.
Can you see that? Can you see it?
Yeah, we do.
And can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay. Give me 1 sec. Just put my phone on mute, you know. Okay, your eyes do not deceive you. I was at the event earlier, and now I'm home. It is. I was taking this slightly topsy-turvy approach to going home to present, but it's slightly odd. But I've actually got another presentation straight after this at a different event. I won't put the link in the chat, but yeah. So I've had to come home to do this. So in any case, right. So we heard a bit about Peripleo earlier, and this is a reusable browser-based interface created by the Locating a National Collection project. And the software was designed to enable users to explore cultural heritage collections through points on the map that represent web pages or clusters of web pages from those collections. And it was developed, you know, as part of the Pelagios initiative, but it was also developed as part of Towards a National Collection. It was developed as part of the Locating a National Collection project, which was a project in the first phase of this program, which is a major investment in connecting the collections of the UK's cultural heritage institutions. You know, I'm sure those from the UK and probably further abroad are well familiar with it, so I won't go into too much detail. And Locating a National Collection helped cultural heritage organizations to use location data, such as where objects were made or used, or the places they depict and describe, to connect the UK, to connect the collections of institutions. And the project's hypothesis was that geographical information, this location data, offered a particularly effective way to break down the barriers that exist between these collections. And Historic England were a partner on the project, thanks to John Cattell for his input, and many others actually at Historic England. And we felt that location data was a useful way to connect collections for two reasons. The first was technical. Geospatial data offers low-hanging fruit for connecting collections, and the second was through engagement. So just on the technical side, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, the records are replete with toponyms, these place names, whereas in historic environment organizations like Historic England hold large quantities of coordinate data. It's not so common in GLAMs. And one thing we were looking to do in the project is try and connect these two types of data, of location data, and try and retain some of the nuance and complexity in making these connections. Alongside that, we were looking at from an engagement perspective. Now, geography is closely related to identity, and this offers opportunities or motivations amongst the public for engaging with collections. So, for example, I might not be interested in a Roman coin, but if that Roman coin was found in my garden, suddenly it takes on a whole new dimension. Okay, and so we were looking at different ways to explore this. And one of the ways we did this was through audience research, led by the National Trust, thanks to, you know, the researchers involved. And this audience research consisted of 3 stages with representative samples from the UK population. We had a survey. We worked with qualitative work was with focus groups, and we used this concept of a pretotype. Now, that's probably the worst word you'll hear today in the workshop, but a prototype is not a prototype. It's a quick way of testing user interface ideas with focus groups, and so that it avoids costly development or can guide the development of application development, software development, following this focus group. So a prototype, it basically consists of a simple PowerPoint slide, and I'll just give you an example of one here, which is Lindisfarne. And we pitched this Visit Plus platform to the focus group as a way of accessing a variety of cultural heritage web pages that are related to a particular visitor site. Now, in this way, the visitor site acts as a nexus for the alignment, a nexus within which these web pages can be discovered. And we generally did have a positive reaction to this. Focus groups participants saw value in this before and after visits to sites, and they were, this association with travel as a driver for engagement with collections was warmly received. But there was some confusion around the name Visit Plus. People were asking whether they would be stumbling around Lindisfarne Island looking at IIIF of the British Library's Lindisfarne Gospels, for example, on their phone. And so actually we found that the branding here actually obscured some of the value at times. The other thing I'd mention about this prototype was that other prototypes that were focused on local exploration, actually, such as in finding collection items that were related to the neighborhoods that people lived in, or neighborhoods they used to live in, or areas where their ancestors came from, often had a more positive reaction too. But in any case, this was so what we were trying to do is look at how people engage here with linked data. This was a linked data model, and we then went on to build Visit Plus. Hopefully this video will start using Peripleo. And here the 1,600 heritage visitor sites from around the UK acted as a gazetteer. And these are sites of national significance generally, from English Heritage, Historic Environment Scotland, etc. And we wanted to align these with data from GLAMS, particularly the British Library, but we also worked with Portable Antiquities Scheme, Art UK, and the Imperial War Museum to find data sets that we could align geospatially with the gazetteer of heritage visitor sites. I must say that amongst GLAMS, there were relatively few data sets that had coordinates amongst them that we could find. Mainly it was myself and colleagues at the British Library that had created them specifically for this project, actually. And so that's a lacuna which should be addressed in terms of this linked data. But the other point I just wanted to make about this was that when we aligned data sets using coordinates, we could make a much greater range of connections than using place names, because coordinates may be only a kilometer apart, but the place names that those coordinates records came from might be completely different. And so rather than making just that semantic connection, we made this geospatial connection. Okay, so Peripleo is a browser-based web tool, and it's, as I've said, and I mentioned this morning, it's designed for this discovery use case, which is to find a single point on the map, open the pop-up, have a very clear URL there and click through to web pages. The purpose of Peripleo is to click through to those web pages. If your institution or project are not hosting data on their own web pages, then Peripleo might not be the tool for you, to be honest. It's designed to be reusable. It's open source. It's relatively simple to create, and I'll show you your own maps. I'll show you a little walkthrough of that in a second. And finally, I think it's sustainable. It is based on a free hosting method, GitHub Pages. It's a front-end only app. Now, it works with data in a JSON format, and we've also provided this thanks to Stephen Gadd, who will also feature in the next presentation. I understand, right, World Historical Gazetteer. We also provide this geodata curation tool called Localigo. Now, it was a tool that was originally developed for use by the project team, but and there are some quite advanced features that are difficult to use, but some of the simple features that are required to get a map going are very easy. And you can look at this URL here to get more information. There's walkthroughs there for making a map going, or do get in contact with me as well. So if we look in the tradition of the workshop today, which is to show slides of data that it's impossible to see, I have a spreadsheet here, and this is what you need in your spreadsheet. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a title. You need a URL, and you need an X and Y, essentially. Now, there are different ways to get that X and Y coordinate, lat long coordinate. And one way is as simple as this. Go to Google Maps, find the place that you were looking for, right click, you can copy and paste the coordinates off Google Maps and into your spreadsheet. I mean, obviously if you have thousands of places, you don't want to do it that way. There are automated ways of doing this. I don't have the time to explain them today. Also, when Historic England have this pier, which perhaps is, I'm not actually sure where it is, as their photo. Anyway, that's a separate. I was expecting to have the event in that location. Anyway, so on Google. Now, this is Localigo. So Localigo's in the most simple functionality for Localigo is that you just point your browser here. It's openly available app. You choose input, and that basically uploads a spreadsheet to Localigo, the spread of the type that I mentioned before, with title, URL, lat long, and then you can open this modal, and here you can assign the 4 columns at the top there to JSON fields, okay? And you don't need to know anything about JSON here. All you need to do is follow the instructions for those fields, and I think in most cases they will auto-populate anyway based on the titles of your columns in the spreadsheet. And then you just go to the bottom and click on Convert, and you can view the resulting JSON. You don't need to view the resulting JSON. All you need to do is click download, and you'll have that file, and which can then be uploaded. I mean, it'll look something like this, like GeoJSON here. Although that one I see doesn't have a URL, so it also should have a URL. Localigo will do that, and you can then import the repository to GitHub Pages. It's just a matter of doing a few simple clicks. You'll need a GitHub account, of course, and those in that graphical user interface, the clicks you'll require will be are laid out you know, in the walkthroughs. And once you've done that, you'll have a map that will be openly available to the public and in a sustainable fashion. So Peripleo has been taken forward in various forms by, you know, Performance Software and Reiner as well, and there are projects using it, for example, at the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics, Yale University, the National Library of Israel, and as well as many others. So do get in contact with me if you're interested in using Peripleo, and do get in contact with the Pelagios visualization group within the network. And I'm hopeful that we'll see further uptake of Peripleo following this. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Gethin.
Does anyone have any questions for Gethin right now? Because Gethin has to disappear pretty quickly. I'm still there. Yes, what?
I'm still there.
Okay. Is there any more questions, Gethin? Gethin dismissed.
Okay. I should be.
Oh. Are you still there?
Sorry. Yes, I should be around for another half hour.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I have just a very basic question, which is actually nothing to do with Peripleo, but are you able to keep track of usage? You've mentioned a few groups who are using it. How do you know about that? Have they got in contact, or are you seeing activity on GitHub? How are you aware of its usage?
Well, first we can, they get in contact. Second, yes, if you can search GitHub for the Peripleo instances, because they have to be openly available, not private repos. And third, in a slightly different vein, you can include Google Analytics in Peripleo. That wouldn't allow me to keep track of who has created other instances, but those who create their own instances can keep track of users by, taking a Google Analytics code and just embedding it in the JSON file.
Yeah. Thanks,
as
Gethin.
well.
So just a very quick follow-up. With these other usages, are they doing exactly what you did, or are they also developing Peripleo, which leads into a kind of related question about development? Do you see this being developed further with different use cases?
Yes, some of the projects have forked our Peripleo and have made changes to the user interface, but I would say the majority have not done that. Actually, in the last few weeks, we've seen quite a few issues raised on it by a developer about UI changes that they're making and how they can contribute them back. But I'm not absolutely sure. I've had a quick look at it. I'm not sure who that is. With these GitHub usernames, it's not always clear who's behind them, is it? So, and so there's a conversation going on there.
Thank you.
But we would like to see the addition of a time bar. That would be, for filtering, a time visualization and filter. That would be an excellent addition. There are various other UI ideas that, that it would be great if particular projects might implement.
Thanks very much, Gethin. Going to Carl.
If there's no more questions for
Thanks, Gethin. Good luck with the next presentation.